because we may now say that it's stigmatization, which could borderline
Very true.
stigmatization when saying, okay, we cannot employ you because. But the because is not because of a mental illness, but really because of the behavioral manifestations
Of
as
that.
a result of the illness, and that is because you are not taking your medication.
Medications, correct.
So, what can be done to encourage persons? Do you think that enough information, enough things are done to encourage persons not just to accept, but to recognize the importance for?
Okay. Well, for me, I believe that we should approach this on a cultural level. So we should normalize help-seeking behavior. So that means that it's okay to need help from someone. We all need help sometimes. For mental illness, it's the same. But
Right.
we don't approach it that way. When we need help physically, we can ask for it. But mentally, we are afraid because of the stigmatization that's associated with it. If I ask him, he might think like I'm crazy, he might look at me different. And we might think it's a stereotype, but actually, when we or cultures that are not informed about mental illness discover these kinds of things, the way that they treat these individuals can actually exacerbate their conditions and make it worse. So, yeah, I think culturally we need to be more informed.
Excellent. So these are things we need to start thinking of. These are things we need to start thinking of, because persons, I'm pretty sure, and I would want to believe that a lot of persons would want the help.
Yes.
I'd want to believe that that a lot of persons are wanting it to get to a point where we are truly an inclusive society.
Agreed.
And all of that comes not just with words, but with actions, and actions that, as you all highlighted, at all levels, from an individual perspective, to family, and going right up to
Communities.
communities, and
Yes.
going right up. So as professionals, I really want to commend you on the work that you are doing and the work that you continue to do, and I want to implore you really to do more, so that we could reach more persons, to get to a point where we are accepting of, and at all levels we show inclusion of persons who may have issues with their mental health. And again, I want to use this opportunity to highlight our panel discussion next Wednesday at 5 o'clock, because it is important.
Yeah, it is.
Because we
Very
are
much
looking,
so, yeah.
it's really a step towards what we are saying that we should be doing. And if persons are given information really for free, I think it's an opportunity that they should grab, to come in and listen from professionals, different perspectives and to understand better how varying perspectives and how varying variables such as finances can really play an important role in the stability or lack thereof of your mental health.
Agreed.
Yeah. So,
Dr. Coffee, let me just add one more thing.
yes.
In my opinion, we have a challenge with trust. On a societal level. You may find that a lot of people, they don't trust others. So when it comes to, seeking psychological support, etc., you may find some persons with the mindset that I don't think I can trust a stranger, somebody that I do not know, to divulge such information, such personal information, because I'm not sure, again, like Lester said, the whole issue of confidentiality, where that information that I share is going to end up. And then as professionals, we understand that trust is part of building the therapeutic relationship. And it's only after we build that therapeutic relationship, then we find persons being more vulnerable, being able to feel comfortable enough to open up and to actually accept, what we professionals provide to them.
Yeah.
So again, we have to start working on that aspect. And when people recognize that, hey, I can go to this place, I can go to this person, and I feel comfortable enough to have that discussion, to open up, to be vulnerable, so that I can get the necessary assistance that I need, then we can actually make some waves when it comes to mental health.
And
Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
just chime in
Yeah.
on this, which for me resonates with me a lot. So I do have a private practice where I do counseling and psychotherapy, yeah? And would you believe that 90% of clients that have ever come to me is because someone else had said to them, I'd been to this person and they've been able to help me. So what I'm challenging persons out there to do is, outside of the fact that we have this distrust, this lack of believing, there's a lack of confidentiality and so on, if you've been to a mental health professional and it has helped you, it's okay to talk about it with someone else.
Spread the word.
Let them know that it's not what they think.
Mhm.
Do you know the nicest thing that a client has said to me already in therapy is that, Mr. Guy, I never thought it's so therapy, isn't it? You're making it seem so easy, so easy to talk to. And that's the thing. We need to understand that when we talk about mental health and what people has gone through, even right now, the rain is falling, and I'm betting you, there's a lot of people that are anxious.
Yeah.
Post Murray and Erica, what they've gone through. And
So-
these are the little things that sometimes we don't link to mental health and mental health being that are affecting people, and they build up and they develop stuff like anxiety disorders.
Over time, yes.
They,
Yeah.
they
Over
become
time.
depressed over time and so on.
Yeah.
And we're trying to help in this. So,
So
you know?
that is good. But let me ask though, do you really think that it's fully 100% lack of trust, or whether it is deeper than that, just discomfort to deal with the realities that they experience?
Yes and no. And I said it's multifaceted. You know, there's the lack of trust, there's the, well, I don't think I have a health issue because I am not hurting or I don't have a pain.
Acknowledgement.
It's just something I'm dealing with. Do you know the number of persons
Or the discomfort that would come
with
when
it-
talking about
when
it?
talking about it?
Yeah.
But do you realize that grief has been a major aspect of people seeking help right now?
Yes, but also there's a misconception with grief and therapy that should follow grief or grief therapy, if you want to call it that way, because we figure sometimes when somebody dies, as soon as somebody dies, they require grief counseling. And I don't think that is necessarily true, because when you lose something, irrespective of what it is, be it a person, a relationship, a house, finances, whatever it is, it's loss, it's grief.
loss, yeah.
An individual is supposed to go through the grieving process,
Process, yes.
because that's normal. That's part of the process of healing
Which-
prior to intervention. Because if premature intervention comes in, what we are doing? Basically stalling the process, the natural process of grieving, and it may actually do more damage
And good.
than good. However, we must acknowledge that, hey, if a person loses a family member, for example, or a close friend or something close to them, in a traumatic way, in an unexpected way, we don't go directly into grief therapy, but we would do debriefing. So
Debriefing.
intervention would come in, but it would not be for grief,
Right.
but for less dealing with the trauma that would have been elicited as a result of the unexpected or the event, the way it happened.
And let me add to what you're saying, Dr. Coffee, where psychological first aid comes into play. And that's why we've been trying our best to give communities the resources on areas of psychological first aid, that you're not a professional, you're not a psychologist, you're not a counselor, but you have something that you can offer to the person while the person is going through an overwhelming situation for now. So you can be empathetic, and I put it in quotation mark, in that process with them. Because sometimes you're right in saying that you don't want to overshadow what needs to be done or the person's experience, but you also recognize that people do lose a boyfriend, a house, their livelihood, their job, and in a week time it becomes so overwhelming for them that they cannot deal with it on their own. And that's why you have to also be able to give communities the resources, the churches, the schools, the teachers, and so on, those type of little trainings that, you know, they can identify
Yes.
when is where the person needs to be referred to someone with
And I
more
think that's
experience.
something the Department of Social
Yeah.
Services have started,
Yes.
and will continue to do, to provide, go out to the communities and provide required skills that are needed for basic support. One, in the absence of human resources, really, and two, with the goal of promoting community support
Yep.
and promoting, equipping persons with the required skills that are necessary to deal with the situations that come in, that they may face, that ordinarily they will be unable to deal with alone. So I want to take this opportunity to commend the Department of Social Services in this regard, and to continue to do what they are doing.
I want to add something to what Lester said. One of the misconceptions is that when somebody loses a house or becomes unemployed, they lose their job, the expectation is you will get over that. You find a new job, you find another house, or you go to rent, or whatever the case is. If you get a new boyfriend, that kind of thing. So the expectation is move on from that because it's easier to replace these things. But when you lose a loved one, you can't replace that person. So then the misconception there is encourage that person to go to grief therapy, because if they don't, it is going to become more extensive in the sense that they become depressed. It might lead to some form of enduring mental health illness.
Yeah.
So we feel that one of the ways that we can support persons who have lost a family member, whatever it is to get them quickly into grief therapy to avoid long-term problems.
Yeah, early as possible.
Yes.
Right, you are very correct in that regard, but we just want to highlight you, because we don't want persons to figure as soon as somebody dies or you lose something that is close to you, it is a requirement too. Like you highlighted, yes, there are times when it may trigger other mental illnesses or disorders or emotional dysregulation. However, the person has to recognize that. But we do not want to impede the process. That's really the point that we are trying to impede in the
Correct.
process. Is going to do more damage than good. And so we want to do that. Anybody else wants to say anything as it relates to the awareness of mental health? Because that is something, one of the questions I posed earlier, and I felt that it was not fully responded to. The importance of being aware of mental health, and it's not just because it's the month of May and May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but I think it's something that we need to start practicing almost on a daily basis. The awareness of what it is and why is understanding the what it is important.
Wonderful, Dr. Coffey, and let's even use an example so people can identify. Hurricane season is just 2 weeks from now, and see how the weather is already. Yes. And we talk a lot about how you have a lot of hurricane preparedness training going on right now. Yeah? But between when hurricane season finished last year to now, little was done.
Right.
The same thing as it relates to mental health and mental well-being. We need to put things in place that is perpetual. It's a continuous thing that's dynamic. Let's engage our young children at an early age. Primary school children, secondary school children, middle school children. Let's have that information in front of them. Let's make it part of not just teaching them academics, but teaching them all the life skills that is needed. Even though it's short classes, HFLE. Let's look at our HFLE curriculum.
Yeah.
And include new things that will help children to understand that you don't have to wait until it becomes overwhelming for you to seek help. Let's have the churches introduce that in their Sabbath school, in their Sunday schools, that children understand, and it becomes part and parcel of what the children are thinking of. So we don't have to be reactive and start having banners and huge sensitization and awareness campaign. But this will be part and parcel of children growing up in a society that in the next 10, 20, 30 years, the children are aware of those things. We just need to reinforce them, because we are very reactive to those things.
I'm happy you said that. I'm happy you said that. And I think that is what we've recognized at the Department of Social Services. And that's one of the reasons that we decided to start off with the discussion, the panel discussion, inviting not just professionals or policymakers, inviting students, everybody, real people with real issues, to have at least be sensitized towards the information and to have an understanding of what it is. Because without an understanding, it makes it difficult for what you are saying, the
To happen.
policymakers to implement.
Yes.
And so I think that is a step towards where we should be going, and it's commendable. It's really commendable. But it's a really an opportunity to collaborate with the other departments, the other ministries,
Right.
like the Ministry of Education. You highlighted curriculum development. I know that in the HFLA curriculum, some aspects of are covered, but as to what exactly is, we are not too sure. So collaboration is important.
Yes.
It's time to have discuss across the board to see where can we go, because it too often we sit 10 years, 20 years, almost 25 years or 40 years later, and we are having the very same discussions
again.
we've
Yes,
had
yes.
the preceding years. It can be
Yes, yes.
frustrating, not
I
just
wanna-
to professionals, but to everybody, because we are not seeing what we should see. So this is opportunity to grow, and I'm happy. I'm liking the ideas that we are getting. I'm liking the energy that we are having from professionals who deal with real people, with real issues. And I just want us to encourage us to keep the conversations going, not just this month, but every month, because we know that mental health matters.
Very important. I just want to
Yeah, go ahead.
add to that.
Coming
So
after.
the information that we're giving about mental health and mental awareness is important, but people may not see the value in this information. So what is important for us to highlight is how this information is applicable to their lives, our lives. So, for example, mental awareness is applicable to relationships, right? You have a married couple, a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever the case may be. If I am more aware of your mental state, I know how to handle you a little bit better, or handle the situation a little bit better. Maybe I don't talk about it now. Maybe I come back later when you are in a better mood or in less stress, etc. We can also look at it at a community level. If we find someone who has
Yeah.
mental illness or is struggling with mental health, we see a lot of kids, ridiculing him, making him feel less than, treating him differently, and so on. And that's because of lack of knowledge provided to these kids or to these families, so that they know that that person is just like them, just different. And everyone is different in one way. So that awareness can help them in the community. In effect, the communities will be stronger because no one will be a pariah or different, We'll all be part of the same family.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I also think that
And
for
more
work-
empowered.
Yes,
More
exactly.
empowered.
So
Yeah.
you can accomplish more. So
Yeah.
if I feel more connected, let's say in work, for example, if I feel more appreciated, like I can take a day or two or even an afternoon for my mental health, and my boss is okay with that.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
how I'll be coughing and they say, hey, go home. You don't have to ask. It's very quickly they send you home. So just like that understanding, so it makes a difference. So as Mr. Guy was saying, you have the butterfly effect, that effect on one person will be passed on to the next, and so on and so forth. But it has to start somewhere. So once we can highlight the importance of this information and how it's applicable to our daily lives, whether it's relationships or communities or work or culture or regionally, nationally, it's important for us to know and recognize.
Yeah.
Dr.
excellent.
Coffee, in my humble opinion,
Uh-huh.
I do believe that we should place more emphasis on our communities. We should not assume anymore that people know what mental illness, mental health is. We should not assume. We should not sit in our offices and just assume that somebody is able to deal with their challenges. It's okay. We should go to the communities, have town hall meetings, and hear the people. Again, voices of change. Let's find out what the people know. Let's find out what they don't know.
Yes.
Let's increase the awareness. Let's introduce some more campaigns, not just on the radio, within the communities, and let's hear what the people have to say
Applicable.
and where they can use that information that we are giving them
Exactly.
and make it more applicable to their lives. That's where we're going to see change.
Exactly.
Because if we just sit and assume that, people have some understanding
They know how
about
to
what
use it.
mental illness is or mental health is because we have 1 or 2 radio programs a year.
Pamphlets.
And also distribution of pamphlets.
yeah.
Most people throw these
Yeah.
pamphlets into the dustbin.
Yeah, I'm happy that you highlighted that, Mrs. Packett, because that is one of the things I think that the counseling department and the Department of Social Services have also recognized and is working on, because oftentimes you find persons want the support, but they are not willing to come. So we decided to go to them, and going to them in the form of recognizing that, hey, we may require more persons that we don't have, but we can do this by having group sessions.
Right.
So within the sessions, then you have the promotion of, or the sharing of the skill set that you're talking about,
Yes.
the understanding as to what exactly they are going through, and they are able to now identify what they're going through and how best to go through that, and recognizing that support is there. Support is there, and how to get that support. So I'm liking the fact that you highlighted the importance of more aggressive public awareness,
Yes, correct.
and in the form of town hall meetings. But we want to encourage persons to come.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to plan it, it's another to have the turnout.
Right.
And we are starting off, well, not starting off, but continuing in the form of the panel discussion. That's somewhat a town hall meeting, because you're going to be furnished with information from different perspectives about mental health and mental well-being. Let's see if they come. And we encourage persons to come. Because it's important.
Yes.
So it's very, like you said, it's very important that we be more aggressive in reaching out to the people in areas that we know that they require. Okay, Mr. Guy, you have anything to add? We
Yes,
can you believe it's almost an hour has elapsed?
Oh, yeah, it's really
And
fast.
so it's unfortunate that we want to say we let's try to start closing remarks, but we have to, and we hope to do more sessions like this, maybe focusing on specific areas as time goes by. But it's a start. And we must appreciate the efforts of the Department of Social Services.
And wonderful, and I'll take the opportunity to, and probably Mrs. Packett can chime in what. So the Department of Social Services, which has how many? 5 units, I think. Yeah, 6 units. Department of Gender Affairs, which I'm the coordinator. We have also Ms. Packett,
Social welfare services.
Social Welfare Services, the Counseling Department,
yeah.
the Child Probation,
Child
and
protection.
Child Protection.
Probation services.
Probation services. Yes. So all of those units under the Department of Social Services deal with mental health and mental well-being of families, importantly. Yeah, because in all of the aspects, if somebody needs help in terms of losing the home, losing their job, children adoption, gender-based violence is another major thing where a lot of women and men or persons who experience intimate partner violence and gender-based violence needs help. And we may not see them as mental health issues, but they are social, emotional, and mental issues that affect people
What are some of
considerably.
the mental health conditions, though, that
So-
are most common, Mr.
Most common from gender-based violence is anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. These are the things that people present with. Yeah, and sometimes you may feel that because the person is not at the psychiatric unit or have not seen a psychiatric doctor, that they're not going through some emotional or mental struggles or challenges.
Yeah.
And we are begging, I should say, the general public to support us.
Yeah.
We are each other's keeper, because tomorrow it might not be your son, but it might be my son. It may not be your sister or your aunt or your mom. It might be my mom. So we have to take this into consideration. How do we stand in the gap and advocate? We need to be agents of change for individuals in our society. Humanity still carries a lot of weight. And sorry if I'm sounding now like I'm preaching a little, but it does, because I'm seeing so many families and individuals affected negatively, and they're not getting the help that they need because no one is standing in the gap for them, because they are fearful. They are fearful of the stigma and discrimination. They have the misconception. They have the myths about what's happening, and they don't understand it. And we are really employing people out there to please pay mind. We're not saying to get into people's business, but we are saying if you have to stand in the gap for someone, be the agents of change. So I'm really happy that I was part of
or
this.
at least
yes.
as part of the agent of change, like you highlighted, it's not necessarily mean that you have to get into somebody's business,
Right.
but you can know who to call, to get into somebody's business.
Excellent.
Yes,
And
yes.
we've just finished a how do we call it? It's almost like a referral pathway for intimate partner violence and gender-based violence and so on. And we'll be sharing that hopefully with the general public for sensitization and awareness, that you will know the numbers to call, and persons who are experiencing those things, be it you're a perpetrator or you're a victim, that you can seek help. It's really a pleasure.
All in, we have a few callers, and so let's entertain some calls, please. Go ahead, caller. Are you there? Welcome to our program.
Hello.
Hi, I'm hearing you clearly. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, good morning to all of you this morning.
Good morning,
Good
and thanks for
morning.
calling.
Okay, I mean, it's a very good and interesting program.
Okay.
But
thank
my problem is, as you all have been saying, is it mustn't be only me.
Say that again.
You all, and then this lady just made a point that go to the community and meet with the people.
Right, right.
Now, I am saying, why is it that so many of our young men committing suicide? Is it again, as Mr. Guy was saying, is it a lack of trust? Because sometimes the pastors are supposed to absorb your situation
Yeah.
and help you. But at the same time, they go on the pulpit and they say certain things and just referring to you.
Right, right,
And you feel very embarrassed. So they are not helping you.
right.
You know, and I mean, that is a situation I've been really concerned about, because you're not hearing the ladies committing suicide as such, but the young men. And then even why is it that there's so many young men are going off?
Can I
You know,
respond to that?
I am saying there must be somebody you should be able to talk to help you to overcome whatever you're going through.
Right. You are so correct about that.
Now, some people now may not want to talk because they have been pressured even by others. Because your husband might be beating you up, but you cannot talk because if he finds out that you go and talk to somebody, he'll beat you more again.
Yes, yes, that is true.
You know. So, I mean, it's a very interesting program you all are having this morning. It's just that my problem is once in a year.
Okay.
And I feel these programs like this should be more than once a year.
Yes.
Trying to
we're going
educate
to
us
Agree.
and
Agree.
let us know.
We are
Agreed.
going to work on
That was
You
that.
know. Anyway,
Thank you for
All right,
calling,
thank you
caller.
very much.
You made quite
You're
a
welcome.
Thank you. You made quite a few
Okay.
points, and most all of them are valid points. We'll take the last first. We definitely recognize the importance for programs like these, and we're going to try our best to continue doing it more often, to provide information and to share numbers and of persons who can provide services for persons who require. And you mentioned also that you recognize that there are high rates of suicide in Dominica, particularly among men. I am not too attuned with the empirical data, but I know for a fact that we have had quite a few over the past 2 years. And we know that research has proven that two emotions that really contribute towards committing suicide, we know that they are depression and anxiety.
Yes.
So these are two areas that maybe as professionals we could look at and see how best we can provide information so that persons would get the required skill set in order to deal with the issues that would trigger these two serious emotions that can contribute to suicide. But Mr. Francis, you
Yes.
wanted to comment on
Yes,
that.
I really want to.
Go ahead.
So I feel like I can speak on that being a man myself, you know. And I think I mentioned that earlier, that as a black man from the Caribbean, that our stressors, that the pressures that we need to bear is kind of different, right? So I think the way that we should approach this is first and foremost culturally, because we teach our boys to be a certain way, to be strong, not just physically, but mentally as well. It doesn't matter what you're going through, right? Keep going. As I said, tighten your shoes, buckle your belt, that kind of mentality. Especially when we see our counterparts, sisters, women, girls, and they can be very emotionally available, crying all the time and expressing themselves. But for us, if we cry, it's like, what are you crying for? A big boy like you and stuff like that. We're not allowed to express ourselves. So from a very young age, we were trained to be a certain kind of way, to not to express these kinds of emotions. So it's understandable when we get older that we have this resistance to talk about it, because every time we talk about it, we are shunned, we're made feel less than, and so on. So if we approach this culturally, we need to be more open about mental health and seeking help. We see that superstitions, for example, from hundreds of years ago, still present right now. I remember the other day, my son, I went to pick up my son and I was in a rush and I kind of reached for him through the window, and my mom was like, no, don't do that. He'll turn into a thief if you take him through the window. I'm like, okay, so wait a second. So where's the evidence behind that, theory that you have here? And she's like, everyone knows this. It's maybe her grandmother told her, or so on and so forth. But the point is that the information is not based in evidence. What they think they know is not based on evidence, but just what other people felt previously, and just kind of handed it down.
You're basically highlighting the importance of reacculturation,
yes,
so to speak.
That's a big word, but
review our norms and our values or practices
pertaining to mental health.
Particularly pertaining to mental health.
Agreed.
And I think we've highlighted that throughout the program.
Yes, we have.
The importance of viewing it differently and making provision for persons to feel comfortable to share how they feel,
exactly.
and to provide the trusting support that
Safe
they
space.
require in order to actually receive the help. So it's a work in progress, and thanks again, caller, for these pertinent points that you've raised. And professionals, I implore you, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot to go in that regard, and we'll continue to do the best we can with the resources that are available.
But I do want to say that we need to pay some more attention to the men.
Yes.
Because again, boys have been socialized to believe that they're supposed to be strong at all times.
Yes.
They're supposed to put on a brave face at all times.
No matter what.
And they're not supposed to express themselves emotionally. And then this has an impact, a negative impact, I must say, when they grow up and they get into marriage and long-term relationships, that they are not open emotionally to their wives.
Yes,
and that's
vulnerable.
where we have difficult situations taking place within the context of marriage. And so we really need to pay more attention to that. So again, like you said, Dr. Coffee, there's a lot of work that we need to do. And that's why it's important to get to the grassroots level so that we can meet the people and work with them. Definitely.
Definitely. Totally agree. But it starts with us, and it starts with sharing knowledge. And again, I want to use this opportunity to highlight our panel discussion next week, next Wednesday at 5:00 at the UE Global Campus Auditorium. It is important to come. It's important to come irrespective of what you're going through, whether you because we are bringing a diverse group of panelists to explore how mental health is shaped by our spirituality, by our financial stresses, by our lived experiences, our access to clinical care, our pharmaceutical treatments. All these perspectives will be addressed at the panel discussion. So it's an opportunity to come and listen and get more information to have a better understanding. And with our understanding, we are one step closer to actually caring for ourselves healthily. Yeah?
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Any other callers? Not at the moment. Okay, we are winding down. Any last words from our guests this morning?
Well, yes, as you just mentioned earlier, I just want to reach out to the young men, yeah, but all the men actually, but especially the young men, and to let them know that it's okay for you to not be okay, to express yourself, and that even if you don't feel comfortable coming to a counselor or professionally, just having a good friend, a trustworthy friend. To be honest, if we were just better friends to each other, we wouldn't have a need for counselors because we wouldn't have the need for confidentiality and trust issues. If you're my friend, then I can talk to you about what's happening in my life and not worry about, the news spreading around. Yes, so I implore the men to be your brother's keeper, right? So give a listening ear and be empathetic towards mental health, not just yours, but the other man and person as well.
Take another call. Thank you so much, Mr. Francis, for sharing that. Mrs. Packard, before you give your closing remarks,
No problem.
let's just entertain the next caller. Caller, you're on.
Peace be unto each and every one. I'm so happy I got through.
Oh, we're happy that you were
from
able
the
to.
beginning. Yes, very wonderful and educational program. And like the gentleman, when you all first started, when he went back to the roots of our ancestors, and it brought me back to the Middle Passage when they had to go to the dungeon, to that gate of no return.
Yeah.
And under that dungeon there was a church at the top. And then bundle like animals into those ships. Some jumped, some was thrown overboard.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, it started from our ancestors where the mental health was concerned. And then they came to the Caribbean where they was branded and treated so bad. So, sir, I salute you on that part.
Yeah, yeah.
On the schools, I agree with you. All to start it from in the schools.
Yeah.
I like mental illness from in the schools.
Excellent.
Here in my country, the hospital to each have a part. Don't send them to the mental institution. They stay at the hospital, and if it is worse, then they send them then to the mental hospital.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's something I had to say. Doctor thought.
That's
But anyhow, very, very good work. And as you all said, don't only do it on mental health week, but start.
Continue
and do
doing
it.
it. Yeah.
Yes. But a very wonderful program.
Thank you for joining us and thank you for
At
coming.
the workplace, or I was saying at the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
people who suffer with certain illnesses, they have opportunities that they can stay at home and a lot of support too.
Right.
Yes, here.
Right.
So to me, I find it's not as bad as how it used to be before. There was a gentleman, he worked at Central Bank, and sometimes we see him because when we start to act, and you will see the staff come, or sometimes person, will help him.
Mm-hmm.
He'll go for a while and he go back to work, and nobody didn't discriminate him.
Mm-hmm.
He retired now.
Yeah.
So thank you all very much. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Because we understand it's raining down there. And God bless Dominica.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate your comments and all valid points. And you highlighted basically the importance of recognizing that we are one step closer towards inclusive society and acceptance of persons with mental illness throughout the workplace and the support that is provided. We have another caller? Okay, all right. So, Mrs. Packett, you will give in your closing remarks.
I must say this has been, a very interesting program, and I do hope, Dr. Coffee, that we can make it a norm. Hopefully, the listening public can hear our voices a lot more, even before 2025 is over.
Yeah.
But I just want to say in closing that we all experience stressful events, traumatic situations, and significant life changes. Okay?
Yeah.
We go through seasons, we go through phases in our lives. Some of them will be able to manage effectively, and there are those that will require some external support. And I am just asking our listening public to encourage each other to seek help. When we recognize that our brother, our sister, our
Yes.
friend requires some additional support. Yes, like my colleague said, be a better friend. Talk to your colleagues, talk to your friends, talk to your families. But if you recognize that they require some additional support, please encourage them.
see a counselor.
We are trained professionals, masters, doctors, who are able to provide the necessary skills
Support.
and support that you require. Okay? So please, I am really asking, I am pleading with our listening public, if you require help, please seek the support. Don't let it wait till you are ready to kick the bucket or whatever the case is, for a better phrase. But please, we are really asking you, we are imploring you, please seek the assistance. We are here to support you, and we are here to provide you with whatever that you require. That is within our capacity.
I like that.
I like the last part there.
That is within our capacity.
That's important. That's
you know,
important.
at the Department of Social Services.
Yes. And it's an opportunity to highlight the importance of taking care of yourself. Yes. If you are not able to take care of yourself, it's not possible to take care of others. And so we encourage persons to take care of yourself. And taking care of yourself does not necessarily mean a fancy, expensive venture. It could be simple things like taking 5 minutes of uninterrupted time to enjoy a cup of coffee or a glass of juice or something. Uninterrupted time, just 5 minutes. That's form of taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Another thing you can do is to understand your sleep hygiene. A lot of persons don't take time to do that. And then they come to work, or they come the next morning as very much tired, even if they claim they have slept 8 hours, 9 hours. But not understanding the variables, the environmental variables that affect your restorative rest is important. So for me, for example, I know I cannot sleep in darkness. So if I want to struggle and fool myself to believe that I am going to have a full restorative sleep for 8 hours in darkness, it's not going to happen. So take time to understand your sleep hygiene, what you can control in your environment to enable you to have restorative rest. And managing time is important.
Crucial.
So now a lot of persons, and that's the reality of the world, the country we live in, that's the reality of the world we live in.
Times.
A lot of persons have to hustle. So you have one, two job, a side gig there and a side gig there. You must do in order to make ends meet. And that's our reality. How
Very
do you
true.
manage that is important, because it may not be impractical to do it, but it becomes impractical if you're unable to manage your time effectively.
That's right.
Well said.
All right.
Perfect.
So these are few things that you can do to take care of you in order to take care of others. All right. So thank you so much for listening. And once again, I will not say it. We will encourage persons to come to our panel discussion next Wednesday, the 21st of May at 5 o'clock at the UE Open Global Campus Auditorium, to have an opportunity to hear from experts in various perspectives, sharing various perspectives on mental health, not just as a problem or an illness, but as a well-being. Please make an effort to come. Everyone is invited, from the children up to the grandparents. We all are invited, from the individuals up to the community leaders. You are invited to come in to get to get knowledge and to have a discuss with experts to understand better how we can take care of ourselves and each other. So thanks so much for listening and for joining us. And we want to remind you that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Take care of you in order to take care of others. Thank you so much for listening.
Dr. Coffee, I just wanted to say that mental health is everybody's business.
Yeah.
Everybody's business.
That's right.
All voices matters. Excellent. And it's important to highlight that. Your voice matters, and it's brave to use it. All right? All right. Thank you so much. All right.
How was that?
Yeah, it was good. It was fun, man.